Today, Rishi Sunak has announced that he is effectively retreating from many of the government's green and net zero policies. This morning, the news agents received a leak of today's emergency cabinet meeting on these green policies, telling us what was going to happen before it happened. The cabinet agreed, among other things, to postpone the ban of the sale of petrol and diesel cars from 2030, deferred the date of the abolition of the installation of new gas boilers, and pledged not to impose new requirements on home insulation and building. Now, the government says it's doing this because it's trying to help hard-pushed families in a time of a cost of living crisis. And sure, some of these measures will cost people more money, but then again, when you really think about it, some of them really wouldn't. So take the example of banning the sale of new gas and petrol cars from 2030. Well, guess what? Most people don't buy new cars. They buy them second-hand. And under the old proposals, of course, you would still be able to do that. It was just banning the sale of new petrol and diesel cars. This has led companies like Ford today to say that UK business needs ambition, commitment, and consistency from governments, and today's announcements would signal a retreat from all three. And economically speaking, this is the potential problem. Okay, some of this might cost more money in the short term, but over the long term, how many jobs are going to be lost as a result? The UK is in a global race around these new technologies, trying to beat other countries. Maybe jobs and investment will be lost in the future. And that's the problem here. When you take a step back, Rishi Sunak is keeping the 2050 net zero target, but in getting rid of all of these policies, in helping us to get there, effectively, he is willing the ends, but not the means.
The debate about how we get to net zero has thrown up a range of worrying proposals. And today I want to confirm that under this government, they will never happen.
So how else to understand today? Well, it was mainly about politics. Rishi Sunak is trying to create dividing lines between himself, the Conservatives, and the Labour Party, saying, vote for me, I'm not going to impose all of these costly green stuff on all of you. But the big picture here, the really big picture, is that up until today, including governments from David Cameron, Boris Johnson, Theresa May, and their Labour oppositions, the UK has enjoyed a consensus on climate change policy. Under Rishi Sunak, from today, that will no longer be the case.
We are going to change.
The News Agents. This is a Global Player original podcast.